You eat but you don't help. That's what my daughter, Erin, said as she scraped the frying pan into the sink with one sharp movement. The spatula hit the steel like a slap. She didn't look at me when she said it. Just kept scrubbing like the grease was me, like she could wash me off the day. I was holding a warm dish towel, the one with faded strawberries. I just dried the plates we used for dinner. My grandson Jake had left the room a minute earlier, his sneakers squeaking against the laminate, voice still echoing. It's just a signature, Grandma. Not like I'm asking for cash. He wanted me to co-sign for a loan. A car loan. No job history, no savings, just charm and entitlement. I knew better. At 73, I've lived through foreclosure, cancer, one marriage, and 2 funerals. I knew exactly what it meant to attach my name to someone else's chaos. But that wasn't the real blow. It was Erin's voice, sharp, vinegar-soaked, that came next. We took you in after your surgery. Rearranged the whole damn house. And you can't even do this one thing? I stood still. Not because I didn't have words, but because some silences hurt more than shouting. She kept going. That back room could have been my office. You know that, right? You said you'd pitch in. Instead, you just sit here and drink your tea. And there it was. A new line in the sand. Gratitude measured in signatures. Family reduced to a transaction. I folded the towel. Neatly. 2 edges aligned. She added softer, almost like a footnote. Don't think you can just stay here and not be part of this family. I looked at her then. Not as a mother looks at her child. I looked at her as a woman looks at another woman who's just crossed a line and doesn't know it yet. That night I didn't cry. I didn't pack. I didn't yell. I just lay in the dark, in the back room that used to be an office, staring at the ceiling where shadows moved like water. My lamp wouldn't turn on. The switch clicked but no light came. I checked the bulb. Fine. The outlet. Dead. Only in my room. The hallway was still lit. The TV still flickered in the living room. Just my space dark. That was the moment I knew. They hadn't said it directly, but the message was clear enough. You're not dead, but we're already living without you. And I realized something. I'd spent years shrinking myself to fit into their life. Now I was about to vanish. Not in rage, but in silence. The day before it all cracked, I baked Jake's favorite, banana bread with walnuts. He'd had a job interview that morning, and I thought maybe coming home to something warm, something that smelled like effort and memory would lift him. I even folded his hoodie that was always slung over the dining chair. Put it in his room like a small gesture could mean more than it actually did. I guess I was still hoping small things counted. Earlier that afternoon, I'd washed all the windows. My hip ached halfway through, but I kept going. Erin always sighed at the smudges when sunlight came through, so I tried to stay ahead of the complaints. I clipped coupons, restocked the fridge, wrote almond milk and Jake's cereal on the grocery list. Did the things invisible people do. I told myself I was part of this family. Not a guest. Not a placeholder. Not a ghost. When I first moved in post-surgery after that terrifying stair fall, I was grateful. Erin said, "Of course, Mom, stay as long as you need." Jake brought my suitcase upstairs. The first week he even made me tea. That was 18 months ago. Back then, the guest room had a lamp that worked, a folded quilt on the bed, and a new toothbrush waiting by the sink. I remember thinking, they want me here. But lately things shifted. Quietly, like furniture being moved when you're asleep. Erin stopped saying goodnight. Jake started leaving his plates for me to clean. The quilt got swapped for a thinner one. The toothbrush disappeared from the holder. My name stopped appearing on the grocery list. I should have seen it coming. But I was too busy making sure they were okay. That night, before the words and the lamp and the silence, I wrote a little note. Folded it in half. It wasn't dramatic, just a line I thought I might need someday. When love becomes a duty, leave quietly. The banana bread sat on the counter all evening. No one touched it. Erin came home late. She barely glanced at it. Jake walked in, grabbed a soda, and said he wasn't hungry. I waited, just in case. Then wrapped it in foil and put it in the fridge. It's strange how a loaf of bread can tell you everything. They weren't angry. They weren't cruel. They were done. And they assumed I wouldn't notice. But I did. Because silence is never neutral. It's a decision someone makes to not include you. That's the thing about living long enough, you start to hear the things no one says. And that night I finally listened. The next morning I sat at the kitchen table, tea in hand, steam rising like the last bit of warmth I had left. Erin stood by the fridge scrolling through her phone, one foot tapping. She didn't say good morning. I sipped quietly. Let silence sit between us like a third person in the room. Then I saw it. She turned her phone just slightly, enough for the screen to catch my eye. A photo: Jake and Erin standing in front of a car dealership sign. Loan pre-approved, the caption said. Can't wait to get Jake on the road. I stared. Not at the picture but at the date, posted the night before we had that talk in the kitchen. Before the spatula hit the sink. Before the words that sliced through the air like glass. They already knew I'd say no. It was never a question. It was bait. They'd planned for me to be the problem. So they could play the part of the generous ones, the ones who tried. That's what this was. A script. And I'd been handed my line too late. Later that day, while folding laundry, I found an envelope on the counter. Home office budget draft written in Erin's handwriting. I opened it. Inside, price quotes for desks, a rolling chair, shelves. I wasn't even angry. I was impressed. They'd been efficient. She was reclaiming the room. Before I'd even left it. That night, when the outlet in my room stopped working again, I didn't bother checking. I just sat in the dark, the envelope in my lap, and let the facts settle. They were preparing for life without me. Quietly. Strategically. Without guilt. That's when I realized something that caught me off guard. I wasn't hurt the way I expected to be. I was relieved. Because now I could stop pretending. They didn't push me out. They just stopped including me. And that's worse. That's when the twist landed deep and clean. I thought I was staying with family. But really I was just overstaying my usefulness. The banana bread was still in the fridge. Untouched. A perfect metaphor. The next morning I didn't make breakfast. Didn't fold the towels. Didn't check the mail or refill the bird feeder like I usually did. I just put on my coat and walked out the front door without a word. No one noticed. The sidewalk felt colder than usual under my shoes. I didn't have a destination in mind, only a need to move. Somewhere that wasn't that house, that room, that silence with edges. I ended up 2 blocks away at a little cafe I'd passed 100 times but never entered. The sign read Kip's Corner, hand-painted in fading blue. I pushed the door open, and a small bell jingled like it belonged to another decade. The place was nearly empty, save for a man in a booth near the window and a young barista wiping down the counter. She looked up and smiled. Not the forced kind. The kind that notices people. Take a seat anywhere, she said. I'll be right with you. I chose a small table in the corner, one where I could see the street but not be seen. When she came over, I ordered a black coffee. No cream. No sugar. She came back with the cup and lingered just a second longer than necessary. You okay? She asked. I nodded, but my voice stayed quiet. Just needed a little space. She gave a knowing half-smile. You look like someone who's about to do something brave. Her words hit harder than expected. I hadn't even done anything yet, not really. But something inside me shifted. I took a sip. Bitter. Exactly what I needed. At the table beside mine, someone had left a newspaper. I reached for it absent-mindedly, flipping through pages of headlines and ads, until my eyes landed on a listing. Small 1-bedroom. First floor. Garden access. No stairs. I tore it out and folded it into my purse. Back outside, the cold bit deeper. I didn't head home right away. I walked slower than usual, letting the idea settle. I could go. I could just leave. No note. No confrontation. Just gone. It wasn't rage. It wasn't revenge. It was release. I thought about Jake's voice in the kitchen, about Erin's sighs when I asked questions, the unplugged lamp, the cold room. All the little reminders that I was tolerated, not wanted. That's when the thought landed, heavy and final. I wasn't part of the house. I was part of the furniture. And I'd been slowly moved closer and closer to the door. When I got back from the cafe, the house felt different. Not because anything had moved, but because I had. There was a kind of echo inside me, like I was hearing my own thoughts clearly for the first time. I took off my coat, went into my room and sat on the edge of the bed. The lamp was still dark. The air had that dry, recycled smell like a guest room no one wants to clean. I reached for the drawer where I kept important things, Cards, papers, old photos. Tucked between birthday letters from Jake and a snapshot of Erin in her high school graduation gown, I found a file folder labeled Family Docs. I pulled it out. Inside were things I'd forgotten I even saved. The equity papers from the house, where my name was still listed as a partial owner. The original purchase agreement, which I'd co-signed 15 years ago when Erin and her then-husband couldn't qualify a loan. Erin always thought I just helped them out back then. That I'd handed over my share or let it go. And I never corrected her. Why would I? We were family. Back then it felt like enough. They never changed it. Never refinanced. I still legally own part of this place. My heart didn't race. It just settled. Like a weight had dropped into the center of me and held me steady. Then my phone buzzed. I looked expecting nothing. It was a message from Jake. We're gonna need that room soon. Just letting you know. No punctuation. No greeting. Not even a question. Just letting me know. I didn't respond. Instead, I went online, searched for realtors, and found one with 5 stars and the words discreet, experienced, fast in her bio. Her name was Carla. I called. She answered on the 3rd ring. Carla's Realty. I introduced myself and asked if she handled co-owned properties. She said she did. I told her I needed a valuation. Quietly. Can I ask why? My daughter's family lives there, I said. But they forgot I still do too. She paused. I understand. We set a meeting for Friday. She didn't ask more than she needed to. I appreciated that. When I hung up, I noticed something else. The heat in my room was off. Every other vent in the house was working. I checked, but mine was blowing cold air. I stared at the vent like it could answer me. Of course it couldn't. But the answer was already here. This wasn't neglect. It was intentional. Little by little, they were pushing me out without touching me. Like someone slowly turning down the volume until the music disappears. I sat on the bed and whispered to no one, I was your background. Until I vanished. And that's when the second twist hit, sharp and cold. I didn't need to prepare for this. I already had. I had documents. I had ownership. I had proof. They thought I was powerless. They forgot who built the floor under their feet. Friday morning, I woke up before the sun. Didn't bother making the bed. I got dressed in quiet clothes. Gray slacks, a navy sweater, soft-soled shoes that didn't squeak on the wood floors. I didn't want anyone asking questions. Not that they would've. Erin had already left for work. Jake was still asleep. The house was silent, the kind of silence that isn't peaceful, just emptied. I walked to the bus stop. I could have taken a cab, but I wanted to feel the cold air on my face. I wanted to be fully present for what I was about to do. At the realty office, Carla greeted me with a firm handshake and kind eyes. Her office smelled like cedar and printer ink. She offered me coffee. I declined. We sat down at her desk. I handed over the documents, property records, the original deed, the co-ownership agreement. She looked them over and nodded slowly. You're in a strong position, she said. They may not like it, but legally you have every right. I'm not interested in fighting, I said. She met my gaze. Then we'll keep it clean. Quiet. You'll have the sale rolling before they even realize what's happening. It felt surgical, precise, and strangely merciful. Next, I walked to the lawyer's office. A small place above a bakery. Smelled like sugar and ink. Her name was Angela. I liked her right away. No small talk. Just facts. I want to change my will, I told her. To what extent? I want my share of the house sold and divided. But none of it goes to my daughter. She didn't blink. I continued. Everything goes to my granddaughter. She's 10. She still smiles when I walk into a room. Angela nodded. Understood. We drew up the papers. I signed. Not with anger. Not with spite. Just clarity. Then I took a cab to a small P.O. box center on 3rd Street. I'd already reserved a box online. I needed somewhere for mail to go. Somewhere that wasn't theirs. Last stop, phone store. I bought a new SIM card. New number. Cash payment. I texted Erin from my old phone. Heading to stay with a friend for a few days. Don't wait up. Then I powered it off. For good. No goodbye. No confrontation. Just silence. A clean cut, not a messy exit. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is disappear without slamming the door. I looked at my reflection in the dark screen of the phone before tucking it away. This is what starting over looks like. No fireworks. Just decisions. I didn't cry. I moved. That evening, I checked into a roadside motel just past the city limits. Faded red sign. Lobby with dusty ferns and a clerk who didn't ask questions. Room 106 smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and old carpet, but the lamp worked. The heater worked. The silence wasn't hostile, it was neutral. That's a kind of peace too. I dropped my bag on the bed and sat by the window. The curtain was thin, but I could still see the gas station across the street, glowing like a quiet little universe. Cars pulled in, people bought snacks, fuel left again. Everyone going somewhere. No one looking back. The next morning I walked to a diner nearby. One of those places where the menu is laminated and the coffee's always refilled before you ask. The waitress looked about my daughter's age, but with eyes that had seen more. She came over, pen-poised but paused. "You look like someone who just made a big decision." I smiled faintly. "You could say that." She wrote nothing down. "Let me guess. Black coffee. Eggs. No toast." "Exactly right." She winked. "It's always the women who walk away that order it that way." I sipped my coffee, hot and bitter. She came back with the plate and leaned in just slightly. "Whatever it was, you made the right choice. You've got that look." "What look?" "Like someone who stopped asking for permission." Her words sat with me the rest of the morning. Later that day I stopped at a thrift store, just a few streets over, and picked up a coat warmer than mine, a new set of clothes and a small ceramic mug with a chipped rim. It cost 75 cents. I don't know why I bought it, but it felt like something mine. At checkout, the woman behind the counter bagged it slowly. "You're not from around here, are you?" "No," I said. "Not anymore." She didn't press. Just nodded like she understood something unsaid. "You'll like it here," she said. "Quiet town. Folks mind their business. Good place to remember who you are." That night, back in the motel, I boiled water with the tiny kettle and poured it into my chipped mug. I looked out the window again. The lights at the gas station flickered once and steadied. And I thought, this is the first night in years I don't have to brace for someone's voice on the other side of a door. I was invisible to them now. But to strangers, I was seen. On the third day my phone rang. The new number. The new phone. Only 3 people had it. It wasn't Carla or Angela. I let it ring once. Twice. Then picked up. "Mom." Erin's voice. Flat, like she wasn't sure what she'd find on the other end. I didn't answer. We just got the email. About the house. You're selling it?" Still I said nothing. I listened to her breathe. Short-clipped. Like she'd been walking fast or maybe pacing. "Why would you do this?" she said finally. "You could have just talked to us." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was predictable. People whose silence you never seem to hear their own volume. "You left without a word," she continued. "And Jake's confused. He thought you were staying with a friend." That part was true. I had said that. I had given them just enough to delay the panic. I finally spoke. "You thought I'd stay forever, didn't you?" Silence. Then, "What is this, Mom? Some kind of punishment?" "No," I said calmly. "It's the receipt." "For what?" "For the years you forgot I existed while I was still in the room." She exhaled hard. "This isn't fair. You're family." "No," I said, voice steady. "I was furniture. And now I've been moved." I heard her swallow. The kind of silence that isn't stunned but defensive. "You're hurting Jake." That was her last card. The guilt one. I took a breath, but not for her. For myself. "Now you know what silence feels like," I said. From someone who always showed up. She didn't respond. Maybe didn't know how. I ended the call without saying goodbye. Power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just hangs up. I turned the phone off again. This time not out of fear but finality. It was done. There would be more calls. More confusion. Probably some anger. Maybe even a visit. But I wouldn't be there. They built a life assuming I'd never leave. Now they get to live in it. Without me. Because I didn't disappear out of spite. I left because staying was the real violence. A week later, Carla called. The house had a buyer. Full price. Cash. She sounded almost surprised by how fast it happened. "You okay?" she asked. "I'm quiet," I said. "Sometimes that's better than okay," she replied. 2 days after that, the official notice was delivered to the property. Erin had to sign for it. I didn't see her face when she read it, but I could picture it. The confusion first. Then the scramble. Then the dawning realization. I wasn't coming back. And they weren't staying. I'd given them time. I wasn't cruel. The buyer agreed to a 30-day transition. More than fair. Still, the text came. "You really did it. I hope you're happy." I didn't reply. Because that's the thing about silence, it isn't passive. It's a statement. They tried to call my old number. Dead. They emailed. Nothing bounced back, but nothing came through either. Angela called to confirm the final signing date. She congratulated me. "Most people wait too long," she said. "You moved when you still had strength." "I moved when I finally understood," I told her. She nodded. Same thing. I took a walk that afternoon through a neighborhood I'd never lived in, but already felt more like home than the house I just sold. Kids played in yards. A couple painted their front steps. A dog barked in the distance, not at me, but it made me smile anyway. I passed a bookstore, small and old. Went inside. The man behind the counter looked up, gave a soft nod. "You look like someone who's starting over," he said. I tilted my head. "That obvious?" He grinned. "We get a lot of those in here. Fresh starts by paperbacks, not hardcovers." I bought a used copy of a novel I once loved but hadn't thought of in years. At the register, he said, "You're not lost. Just elsewhere." It stayed with me all the way back to the motel. By the time I unlocked my door, a new email had come in. The funds from the house sale had cleared. I didn't feel joy. I felt air. Like the room finally had space in it. I looked around at the motel walls, still lined with faded wallpaper, and thought, even here I am more free than I ever was in a house I co-owned but never truly belonged to. They weren't losing a provider. They were losing a witness. It's morning now. I'm sitting by a window that isn't mine, in a place I never planned to be, drinking coffee from a chipped ceramic mug that I chose myself. That part matters, the choosing. Outside, the light is soft. Early. It touches the pavement gently, as if it's careful not to wake anyone who still thinks they have time. I don't bake banana bread anymore. Not for people who don't taste it. But I did make oatmeal this morning. Just enough for one. I stirred in cinnamon. Not because someone likes it that way, because I do. There's a potted plant on the windowsill. Not much yet. Just a few stubborn green shoots in a cracked clay pot. I water it every other day, talk to it sometimes. Sounds silly, maybe. But it's something alive that listens. The motel's temporary. A bridge, not a destination. I found a studio apartment near the library. I signed the lease next week. It has a balcony just big enough for a chair and a table. That's all I need. A place to sit. A place to breathe. I haven't heard from Erin again. Jake sent one more text last week. I didn't know. "I'm sorry." I didn't respond. Because forgiveness isn't silence. But sometimes silence is survival. I didn't disappear to hurt them. I left to remember myself. I used to think love was staying. Being useful. Making room. Getting smaller. But I know better now. Love isn't about presence. Sometimes, love is the decision to stop explaining your worth to people committed to forgetting it. Sometimes, love is walking away with nothing in your hands but everything still intact inside you. They didn't erase me. I removed myself. The quiet is not empty here. It's clean. And as I finish the last sip of my coffee, warm even in this worn-down room, I look out at the morning and think, I didn't forgive them. I just turned the volume down to 0. And it is the most peaceful sound I've ever known. What would you have done in my place? If the story hit you, leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe. It only gets stronger from here.